and Jack Handy said, "When I die, I want to go like my grandfather did, in his sleep, not screaming like the passengers in his car." This quote rings really true to someone who suffers from narcolepsy, someone like me. Hollywood often portrays narcolepsy as a comical disorder, where someone will suddenly drop off into dreamland, and maybe in their soup or on bowling alley, like Carol in the movie Deuce Bigalow. She says, "I have narcolepsy. It's a sleeping disorder." It's nothing really terrible, but I can't fly a plane or drive a car or work in a gun range. Then she turns around, throws her ball, and passes out on the lane. Narcolepsy is a sleep disorder, and it affects the sleep cycle. And to really understand how narcolepsy works, you have to understand how the sleep cycle works. It consists of 2 stages: non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement, non-REM and REM. Non-REM is 4 stages. The first and the second are light sleep. The person is easily awakened in these stages. Stages 3 and 4 are more deep sleep. And that allows the brain and the body time to rest and rejuvenate, so you feel rested when you wake up in the morning. After about 90 minutes of non-rapid, we move into rapid eye movement. And this is when vivid dreaming occurs and voluntary muscle paralysis. A typical 8-hour night of sleep, you'll go through 4 or 5 of these cycles. And each cycle, the REM session, gets a little longer. And it's longest right before you wake up in the morning. And that's why you tend to remember the last dream that you had. But narcolepts, they'll skip right into REM sleep and miss the rest and rejuvenation of the non-rapid eye movement. So this leads to excessive daytime sleepiness, which is the #1 most common symptom of narcolepsy. It leads to sleep attacks. These last anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. But unlike the Hollywood portrayal, there's usually enough warning where a person would be able to pull off onto the side of the road if they were driving and take a nap, or to leave the room and go lay down instead of suddenly dropping on the floor or passing out behind the wheel and crashing into a tree. But then there's cataplexy, which is the second most common. And this is where they will really determine whether you have narcolepsy or some other kind of disorder that causes the daytime fatigue. Cataplexy is a brief period of loss of muscle control, and it's triggered by strong emotional impulses like happiness, anger. Laughter is a big one. That's mine. Telling a joke or trying to act of some authority, anything that draws attention on a person. All of these will lead to symptoms of leg and arm weakness, facial drooping, head nodding, and in really severe cases, complete collapse. That's when you hit the floor. That's what Hollywood is portraying. That's more true to what narcolepsy really is. It's that symptom. The other symptoms, sleep paralysis and hallucinations, are a lot less common, but in my experience, the most terrifying. Sleep paralysis, you're awake, you're aware of your surroundings, but you can't move and you can't speak. And hallucinations, they'll sometimes accompany that sleep paralysis. Now, sometimes they'll happen on an ordinary day, just out of nowhere. Like when I was driving down Highway 29 one day, and this semi suddenly jackknifes in front of me. So I slam on the brakes and start to skid. And then the next thing I know, there's nothing there. No semi, no accident, just me skidding down the highway. It's a very scary experience. I don't recommend it. So there's no cure for narcolepsy, but there is treatment. Medications, stimulants like Ritalin and Adderall are the most often prescribed. They have newer, less tested drugs on the market, but unfortunately for most of us, insurance does not cover them. The other treatment that doctors suggest is lifestyle changes. And when narcolepsy is diagnosed, the person is usually in their late 20s to early 30s. So you have a set lifestyle, which is not exactly easy to change. And the changes they suggest you make are avoiding caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, setting a regular sleep schedule. It's not exactly reasonable for everyone to be able to do that. Not everyone is always getting up at the same exact time or going to bed at the exact same time because their work schedule is different. So these changes are not exactly easy to make. So living with narcolepsy isn't exactly easy, but it is interesting, to say the least. So I hope I have shed a little light on a confusing and complex disorder and haven't bored you into wanting to go out like the passengers in Grandpa's car. Thanks.